Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming this Sunday afternoon to celebrate our weekly Sunday feast program at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. And I wish all those who came today here to our temple and those who joined us online a very warm welcome on behalf of their lordships, Sri Radha Madan Mohan, and our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. Thank you, Hari. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we start usually with our Mangalacharan prayers, and then we'll have a little bit of Kirtan, and then we'll have some Krishna Katha, and then we'll have Aarti and then Prasadam. Okay. We'll start off with our usual Mangalacharan prayers, which these prayers are to invoke auspiciousness, because any spiritual or scriptural topics, they need some sort of invocation. So we will do that, and then we can start. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha Kalpatarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Matsamo nasti papatma na paradhi cha kaschana parihare pilajjame kimbruve purushottama. Bhumau skalita padanam bhumireva avalambanam tvai jata paradhanam tvameva sharanam prabho. Govinda vallabhe radhe prarthaye tvamaham sada Tvadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvaya saha. Radha radhita radhesha राधिका प्राणवल्लभा राधारमण वन्दे त्वं राधिका प्रेम निर्जिता. Hare Krishna. Hare Vandaseka. Yash. Dhira Prashant Prabhu. Ekachakra. Hare Krishna. The present age that we live in is called Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga is a particularly difficult age because things are stacked up against the process of spiritual realization. For that matter, any path. And why Krishna imposes Kali Yuga on us is a whole other topic in itself. But with all the drawbacks of Kali Yuga, there is one characteristics or one benefit or one advantage that is so beautifully intense, is that by merely chanting the names of Krishna, either in the process of individual chanting with our beads, or like we are going to do now, in a more congregational manner where there is call and repeat, we get the immense benefit of getting freed from this dangerous age of Kali Yuga. In fact, it is mentioned in the Garuda Purana that Garuda asks Lord Vishnu, this path to hell is pretty dangerous and scary. I mean, yeah, you can watch horror movies, but you can read Garuda Purana. It's pretty scary. And then Garuda himself says that by the very easy process of chanting the names of Krishna, you can avoid hell. But yet people choose not even to do that bare minimum thing, just to move the lips and utter the name of Krishna. And he says, what is the unfortunate situation? So let's make Garudaji proud today, and we can just open our hearts, and for next 5 to 10 minutes, we will forget all the things that we need to take care of, at least for those next 10 minutes, our health, our medical bills, our doctor appointments, our work tomorrow, mortgage, children, school. They're all there. They'll be there tomorrow when you go on Monday. But for the next 10 minutes, let's take and please chant. You can start. Does she know how to play kartals? You know how to play kartals? No, it's okay. Don't worry.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama,
Hare Krishna. For those who just joined in last few minutes while the Kirtan was going on, I wish you a very warm and happy welcome to our Sunday feast. So next week, or the week after next, from Monday, is we are going to start what is called the month of Karthik. And, sorry? Somebody was saying something? Okay. I think it's the 10th of October, which is the Monday. So the month of Karthik is especially a beloved month amongst the Vaishnava communities. And that month is a month where one intensifies one's devotion to Krishna. The whole purpose of one's existence is to somehow or other be connected to Krishna through his service. But especially in the month of Karthik, we have a much more intensified program so that we can have that impetus. Just like the government, in the COVID time, 1 or 2 years ago, with the tax deadline is usually April 15th. But because of the COVID, they extended it to July 15th. So people could take advantage of that time and do whatever they needed to do. So every month, at this time, we have a special month called Karthik, where that time is particularly favorable, and that time is ordained as a month that one can really pour our heart into Krishna. But then why this month of Karthik is celebrated and what's the pastime of Krishna that is celebrated is something we'll discuss today, if that's okay with all of you. Okay. This is a mantra that you can repeat or you need not, for those who are a little new here. But this is the mantra that we repeat when we read Bhagavatam. So don't feel obligated, but it's a call and repeat. I will say and then you can repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll discuss the story of Krishna from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9. For those who do not have Bhagavatam, you don't have to feel sad or morose. We have plenty of Bhagavatam sets out, and you can contact any of the members here. Either it is Achyuta Kumar Prabhu or Dhira Prashanta Prabhu or anyone. You can just go and contact Arvinda Sevika here, and they'll be happy to help you get a set. So let's read from the 9th chapter of the 10th canto. If somebody can project, please. And I'll give the context as we go ahead. So the context is Krishna, as we know, was born in India, and there is a place where he is born. Can anybody name that place? Technically, he was born in Mathura, but he was raised in where? All right. Vrindavan, he was known to be a very... Did we hear his pastime of stealing butter or something like that? Did somebody hear, or is just me? There's some rumors floating around, right? There is a thief in Vrindavan who would steal butter. So Krishna, he would steal the... Thank you. He would steal the butter, and the gopis or the friends of Mother Yashoda would complain against Krishna. And that complaint, though it was in the form of a complaint, But they were relishing that complaint. Normally, that doesn't happen in this world. If you have something stolen, you don't go and you love to complain to the police about what is being stolen. It's a serious matter. But the gopis of Vrindavan, they would complain to Mother Yashoda. And that complaint was such, it was really sweet and it was nectarian. Now, why did he steal butter? That's a topic for some other time. But he was stealing butter. And Mother Yashoda was vexed with these complaints. She said, I should do something. And the tendency of the mother is to find out what her son likes and cook at home. If the son goes to a sleepover party and he eats something very nice at the sleepover party, he comes and tells back to the mother, he or she, doesn't matter. The mother will say, okay, I'll make the same thing at home. Is that, do the mothers do, or is it just my own mental concoction? No, it's okay, good. I'm glad that I'm validated. So Mother Yashoda said, since Krishna is stealing butter from the neighboring houses, and I have got too many complaints, so let me try and alleviate that situation and problem. And this is how the story goes. So let's turn to verse number 1. Please give mics in the audience. I might call the devotees to ask for reading, but I'll start the reading. Texts 1 and 2. Shukadeva Goswami continued, one day when Mother Yashoda saw that all the maid servants were engaged in other household affairs, she began to churn the yogurt. While churning, she remembered the childish activities of Krishna, and in her own way, she composed songs and enjoyed singing to herself about those activities. In fact, in Vrindavan, the gopis would churn milk and butter for Krishna and for their own purposes, but mainly for Krishna. And shall I tell the secret of why Krishna was stealing butter? So, the beauty or the greatness of Vrindavan lie in the fact everyone loved Krishna. The gopas, the gopis, they loved Krishna more than their own child. And we don't hear in Bhagavatam the children complaining, Mother, you are loving Krishna more than me. It was, everybody loved Krishna, including the children. So Krishna was the object of attraction. And to give joy to Krishna was their greatest pleasure. And every gopa and gopi, or every gopi in their house was churning butter, and it is mentioned that the churning of butter was usually when you have that the stirring instrument. In the olden days, there was no blender, so they would have the rod, and then they would tie the rope, and then they would churn it. And because the gopis' hands had bangles, the churning with the bangles. So it was a beautiful, beautiful sound, just enough itself, the churning of butter. But then the gopis would not only churn the butter, but sing extremely wonderful songs and poems about Krishna. And if you can pull up 10th canto, I think 46th chapter, the 46th verse, Prabhu Charunimai. And please give him a big hand. He's behind and, running the show. Thank you. Thank you. So, it's 46? 46? I can't see that. So, for those who are unfamiliar with Sanskrit, just enjoy. But for those who want to follow, then just do it. So the verse goes something like this. Udgayate naam aravindalochanam Rajangananam divadasprishaಧ್ವನಿ Dadnascha nirmantana shabdhamishrito Nirasyate yena dishamamangalam. Vrinda Sevika, the translation please.
As the ladies of Raja loudly sang the glories of lotus-eyed Krishna, their songs blended with the sound of their churning, ascended to the sky and dissipated all inauspiciousness in every direction.
Thank you. So the churning of butter was accompanied by songs about Krishna, and it made such a beautiful sound. It is mentioned that their singing, it reached the sky and the whole universe was dissipated of all inauspicious qualities. So that was the glories. And since and we can go back to the chapter that we were reading. So the gopis were singing songs about Krishna and churning the butter. They invested their love in that butter because the act of churning of butter was accompanied by glorifying Krishna, and that love was reposited in the butter that they made, and they stored it. And Krishna in Vrindavan, he is not like he is sitting here in the temple. In the temple, we make offerings for Krishna. We worship him with proper paddhati and puja and rituals and everything. And then we take the plate and we prepare the offering and give it to him, and he takes it. But in Vrindavan, he is so eager to taste the love of the gopis that he would go to the home and steal butter. Not that there was a butter problem in Vrindavan, like COVID situation. During COVID, we had serious problem. Cheese was not there, yeast was not there, butter was not there, and people would go and steal. It was not like that in Vrindavan. In fact, in Vrindavan, it is mentioned during the festivals, they had gallons and gallons of butter and yogurt and milk, and they would throw on each other. So they had that much kind of butter. So the question will be asked, really, Krishna didn't have butter? His mother didn't feed him butter? So other argument is, maybe his mother didn't give him butter. These days, mothers think that, giving butter and fat will make my child fat. Maybe that's the reason why, maybe Mother Yashoda. No, it is mentioned here, Mother Yashoda was actually churning. She said that I will churn the butter so that my child will eat my butter and he will not go and steal from the neighbors. But little should she know why was Krishna stealing the butter, because he was actually so eager for the love of the gopis, and he ate that butter in the form of that. He didn't wait for the butter to be offered to him. In fact, he would go to their homes and just steal the butter. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that, my child is stealing butter, let me make some nice butter. All right. Text 3. Dressed in a saffron yellow sari with a belt tight about her full hips, Mother Yashoda pulled on the churning rope, laboring considerably. Her bangles and earrings moved and vibrating, and her whole body shaking. Because of her intense love for her child, her breasts were wet with milk. Her face, with its very beautiful eyebrows, was wet with perspiration, and malati flowers were falling from her hair. Text 4. When Mother Yashoda was churning butter, Lord Krishna, desiring to drink the milk of her breast, appeared before her, and in order to increase her transcendental pleasure, he caught hold of the churning rod and began to prevent her from churning. Text 5. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowed him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk on the oven was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. Now the question will come is, really? What happened? When you get the supreme absolute truth, everything else takes a backseat. Yes or yes? I mean, assume the President of United States comes to your home. You will say, sir, please sit. I need to go pick up my child from the school. And I'll come back later. Maybe you can just hang around here, have some books and whatever. Freely organize yourself. Will you do that? You will give full attention. But Mother Yashoda, she's like, and she ran. That seems to be a problem, right? Why would she do that? The answer is that the milk that was put on the stove, it is mentioned. Now, Nanda Maharaj has millions upon millions of cows. And out of them, very few were very special cows. And the grass they ate were a very fragrant grass. And the milk that they gave, just because they ate that fragrant grass, the milk itself was super fragrant. And Mother Yashoda's plan was, coming back to the earlier point, somehow I should make something so that my child doesn't steal and I will make it nicely for him. This was Mother Yashoda's plan. That milk from those select few cows was boiling on the stove. And from that milk, Mother Yashoda wanted to churn butter for Krishna. And so that he can eat that butter and stop stealing from others. But when she saw that the milk was overflowing, then it was for Krishna only that milk was on the stove. And therefore, it is no fault on Mother Yashoda to do what she did. This is verse number 6, correct? Let's see, this is verse number... Let's go to verse number 5, because Srila Prabhupada's purport is really beautiful there. And then... Achyuta Kumar Prabhu, can you please read the purport? It's the translation and the purport. Thank you. And Dhira Prashanta Prabhu, you're next to you are there, so hold the mic for the sake of efficiency.
Thank you, Prabhu. Translation. Mother Yashoda then embraced Krishna, allowing him to sit down on her lap, and began to look upon the face of the Lord with great love and affection. Because of her intense affection, milk was flowing from her breast. But when she saw that the milk pan on the oven was boiling over, she immediately left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. Although the child was not yet fully satisfied with drinking the milk of his mother's breast. Purport, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Everything in the household affairs of Mother Yashoda was meant for Krishna. Although Krishna was drinking the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, when she saw that the milk pan in the kitchen was overflowing, she had to take care of it immediately. And thus she left her son, who then became very angry, not having been fully satisfied with drinking the milk of her breast. Sometimes one must take care of more than one item of important business for the same purpose. Therefore, Mother Yashoda was not unjust when she left her son to take care of the overflowing milk. On the platform of love and affection, it is the duty of the devotee to do one thing first and other things later. The proper intuition by which to do this is given by Krishna. Continue, Prabhu.
Yes.
Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Bhagavad Gita 10:10. In Krishna consciousness, everything is dynamic. Krishna guides the devotee in what to do first and what to do next on the platform of absolute truth.
So Srila Prabhupada gives a very important lesson. Do we sometimes feel that there are too many things we need to do at the same time? Or is it just me? Yeah, right? And what to speak of our material life, even in our seva, in the temple, we have multiple things happening at the same time. And more often than not, I heard devotees getting little, flustered, so to speak, about how to manage this. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very important tip here on how to manage. One thing he says is that the devotee does one thing first, and then after that you can do other things. It's always good to have a priority of what needs to be accomplished first. In the age of Zoom, in the age of cell phones, in the age of other technological medium, multitasking has become a common thing, doing two things at the same time. Unfortunately, neither of the things can have that kind of focus that needs to be accomplished, and one cannot be satisfied. So one should, take a stock of how our service that we are doing, and make sure that we do one thing at a time, do it properly, and go on to the next thing. That doesn't mean we take one thing forever and then let other things slide, but have a reasonable kind of goals for time management. And our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he came to US at the age of 69 in 1965. And from his departure in the world from Krishna Balaram Temple in the November of 1977, he traveled 14 times around the globe. He initiated more than 4,000 or 4,500 disciples, and he established so many temples. He had so much of correspondence that he had to do. And yet he was very meticulous. If you see his lifestyle, he would do one thing at a time. He would get up in the morning at 1, he would translate, he would, in a very, very systematic way, he would do things. But it's not like he was missing or he was not able to do a lot of things. By Krishna's mercy, he was able to accomplish. And then he himself gives the secret on how he was able to accomplish that. Krishna gives the intuition. But at the same time, our attitude should be that I will do one thing at a time and then I'll move on to the next thing. Otherwise, multitasking, rarely even the modern psychologists and psychiatrists, those who study the mind, Hari, you agree with me, that they said that multitasking is really, not efficient. I mean, who are familiar with the computer processing? So the computer might be doing multi things at the same time, but if you take one processor, it is just executing a task and then moving on to the next task. But the computer is able to switch context very fast. So it feels as if we are doing my computer is doing a lot of things at the same time. You are checking the email, you are browsing the internet, you are doing this, blah, 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 blah. But the computer is still having its own way of handling things. It's not multitasking. That's the point number one. Point number two is, from human perspective, when you are doing two things at the same time, switching context between one thing to next, that can be more inefficient than actually taking one job, completing it, and then moving on to the next job. Because, if you are, don't get me wrong, there are situations, an executive or a manager at work, or a person who is who's a project manager or a program manager managing 4 or 5 programs at the same time, you might still need to keep track of that programs, but nevertheless one program at a time. When you try to ram 2-3 programs at the same time, then the stress level increases. And the stress level is mental stress, and that goes on to the physical level. And therefore, modern lifestyle can bring so many unwanted ailments. And good. I think that when I was reading this chapter, it really struck me on how Prabhupada was able to manage, so efficiently his own time and accomplish so much in the last 12 years that he was present. All right. We'll go a little bit ahead because there is a lot of things to cover. And trust me, in the end, you will be... there are things that we discover from the chapter that's truly satisfying. Which verse are we on? 6? All right. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. He entered a room and began to eat the freshly churned butter in a solitary place. Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of pot was the work of Krishna. Krishna at that time was sitting on an upside-down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind. You can only imagine, he not only broke the butter pot, and then how Mother Yashoda knew where Krishna was. It is mentioned that she came back and saw that her child was missing from the spot where she left him after feeding the milk from her body. And then initially, what was the act? She was churning the butter. So she took the butter, put it in a pot, and she saw that that pot was broken. And then she knew that this is my child's handiwork. Then she looked at the broken pot, and she saw that small, tiny pitter-patter feet of Krishna, just he ran across into the other room. And then she chased after him slowly. And just my personal thought, all glories to the monkeys of Vrindavan who ate butter from Krishna's hands. What fortunate souls they are. They are getting Mahaprasad of Krishna from Krishna's own hands. Text 9. When Lord Krishna saw his mother stick in a hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee as if very much afraid. Although yogis try to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they fail to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking the same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began to follow Krishna to catch him. It's just so beautiful that it is mentioned in Brahma Samhita. It is said, Pantastu koti shatavatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi manaso muni pungavanam syopyasti yat prapadasimnya vichintya tattve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The meaning of that verse is the great yogis and sages and munis, after millions of lifetimes of controlling the breath and controlling the mind and the senses and severely performing austerities, are able to reach the tip of the toe of the lotus feet of Krishna. And that Krishna, Mother Yashoda, is chasing to catch. He who is faster than the mind, he who is completely unattainable by any forms of yoga, who forget getting captured. You cannot even see him face. You just can see the tip of his toe of his lotus feet. If you perfect after millions of lifetimes of that practice, Mother Yashoda is saying, I'll chase my son and catch him. While following Krishna, text 10, while following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally tried to reduce her speed. But because of following Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose, and the flowers in her hair were falling after her. And yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna. And you can only imagine the scene in the courtyard, in the backyard, that Krishna is just running like a small baby, and then fully opulent, and Mother Yashoda is running after him. and the hair is getting loose, and the flowers are just falling like a rain of flowers as she is just chasing after Krishna, and Krishna is running. Mother is running after him, and Krishna is running after him. So beautiful. While caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying. His tears mixed with the black ointment around his eyes, and he rubbed his eyes with his hands. He smeared the ointment all over his face, and Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by hand, mildly began to chastise him. And please understand, this is not an ordinary child who did some mischief. This is the supreme absolute truth, who is the controller, maintainer of everything. And here he is acting as if, my mother is going to punish me. My mother is going to chastise me. And he started crying. And we are going to sing from in the Karthik month I was mentioning. We have a very beautiful song called Damodarashtakam that we sing every day. And the second line of Damodarashtakam, or the second stanza, is Rudantam muhur netra yugmam rejantam karam bhoja yugmena satanka netram muhur shvasakam patre rekanka kantha Stita graivam damodaram bhakti bhadam. It is the meaning of this stanza is his breath is heavy. When you are afraid and when you are caught by the police, you are like, dude, what's up? No, you are like, it's a pretty intense situation. His breathing is labored, and then he is crying. And when he's crying, he has kajal or the mascara here, and that mascara is like just going around, and then it is just causing a beautiful blackish line on his face, and he is looking at this Mother Yashoda. It's said that some acharyas say that he was trying to. The tears were coming from his eyes, and he was just rubbing so that it will go away. And some acharyas say he was enjoying so much that the tears were just coming, but they were only out in the edge. He was trying to get tears out so that Mother Yashoda gets the feeling that actually he is crying. Krishna can accomplish many things, but he started crying, and then Mother Yashoda, and then he was thinking, I did an offense. I broke the pot. I stole the butter. And now my mother has come. And she's come with a stick to beat me. And it's like, she's afraid. Amazing. Text 12. Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed by intense love for Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of maternal affection for Krishna, she never cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front, no rear. In other words, he is all-pervading. But because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute, being beyond relativity, he is free from the distinctions between the cause and effect. And although he is the cause and effect of everything, that unmanifested person who is beyond the perception of the senses has now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda considered him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope. Please understand that you can ask any parent, raising children is not a cakewalk. Yes or yes? But the joy of giving birth is actually counteracted by the naughty, mischievous acts the child does when he or she is growing up. Yes or yes? That is a really time where where parents do enjoy. But imagine the supreme absolute truth being that child. with all his intense beauty and joy and sweetness and just radiating bliss, what would be Mother Yashoda's enjoyment to kind of take care of this? But she was a strict mother. My child committed an offense. Now she's trying to give punishment, as we can read a little bit. Everybody doing okay? Okay, thank you. When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance, the width of 2 fingers. Then she brought another rope to join it. This new rope was also short by a measure of 2 fingers. And when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome. Thus Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder. Now, how much rope do you need to bind a small child? Maybe 2 feet, maybe 3 feet. And, because you need to bind, the child's tummy will be this much. Then, some extra length to bind. And then something to bind to the mortar in the back. 2 or 3 feet. She got the rope, but how many fingers too short? 2 fingers too short. And then, did she get more rope? Was that enough? It said that she got hundreds of ropes. Yet it was 2 fingers too short. And it was not Krishna was becoming big and big and big and big. He remained the same size. And everyone was joining in the fun. And Mother Yashoda was determined. She's like, I am going to bind my child. Please understand that when Mother Yashoda was chasing Krishna, we discussed how even the greatest of the yogis couldn't capture Krishna, but Mother Yashoda captured Krishna. It is only after Krishna agreed to be captured by Mother Yashoda. So here also Krishna was watching the fun. Let me see how many ropes my mother will get to bind me. And she got and you can see that she had help on hand. Because the elder gopis were there, they all made a crowd, they joined the fun, they saw Krishna, and she was trying to bind it. And she was like, hey gopi, get more rope, hey gopi, get more rope. And everybody was trying to pitch in with more ropes. it didn't come. It's like, and then, do you think she binded Krishna with the rope? Let's just see. The last verse, 18th. Because of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, her whole body became covered with perspiration. The flowers and comb were falling from her hair. When Krishna saw his mother thus fatigued, he became merciful to her and agreed to be bound. Unless Krishna agrees, you cannot bind Krishna. So there is a great lessons Acharya show. One of the things is, why 2 fingers too short? Why not 3 fingers? Why not 4 fingers? That is the amazing part. The 2 amazing things were that Krishna's body size did not change. Krishna did not expand. And the reason Krishna didn't expand was, in Vrindavan, Krishna has a very special way of handling situations. We read earlier that Mother Yashoda never thought Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She thought, he is my son. And if imagine if Krishna had taken the size of Putana and become 2 miles long or 12 miles high, they cannot bind. If Krishna becomes 12 miles high, probably they are looking at the tip of the toe of the lotus feet and trying to bind something. And they would get all really scared. My God, this is... So Krishna would always wanted to preserve that loving rasa with his mother, so he didn't increase in size. But even though you didn't increase in the size, if you got hundreds of ropes, the distance was always 2 fingers too short. And the acharyas say the 2 fingers too short is the first finger represents the effort and sincerity of the devotee. And the second finger represents the mercy of Krishna. Unless you have both, you cannot bind Krishna. So our own effort is needed, and then Krishna's mercy is needed. And then, because she was so fatigued and Krishna had so much fun, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours was lost in trying to bind Krishna. But she was like, Krishna said, all right, my mother is done enough. Let me now agree to be bound by her. And Krishna at last, he agreed to be bound by her. Text 19. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma and Lord Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. So there is no way that you can actually get Krishna except through love. And otherwise, Krishna is not obligated to kind of reveal himself to you. And the month of Karthik signifies that effort from our side to bind Krishna by our own love. Right? Text 20. Neither Lord Brahma, nor Lord Shiva, nor even the goddess of fortune, who is always the better half of the Supreme Lord, can obtain from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the deliverer from this material world, such mercy as received by Mother Yashoda. And this is because it might seem ironical that Mother Yashoda did not know about Krishna, yet Krishna gave so much mercy. Right? The more you know about the person and the more you glorify that person, the more favors you get from that person. I'll give a simple example. Let me take the example of the President of United States, a very exalted person coming. And you've been living in the cave for last 20 years. And you have not been reading newspaper and you don't have access to internet. You don't know who the President of United States is. And yet somehow or other that person comes to your cave. Like you'll say, who are you? Why did you come? What do you want? Right? And more often than not, that person will be very offended. Because they will think that you really don't know me, which rock you have been under. And you'll say, this is the rock I have been under, I'm in the cave. More often than not, that person will be left very, very dissatisfied with your response and with your lack of knowledge. But here, she doesn't know that he is the supreme absolute truth. Yet, the favor that he got was much higher than Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. This goes to show that the special nature of the love of devotees in Vrindavan is such that they see Krishna as they see in their own child, bereft of his opulences. And that's the speciality of love of Vrindavan. And that's the reason why it's mentioned that never nobody like Mother Yashoda got that mercy, that kind of mercy. I'll pause here. Do we take any questions or comments or something like that? Any reflections, any comments before we go? Yes.
So I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that the ropes didn't get Krishna, because like if there's 2 fingers too short the first time, let's say, like logically, I know like this is rasa, so it doesn't apply the same way, but logically we would just have the rope to cover the 2 fingers part. We wouldn't do the whole thing again, right? Like, so is there any way to understand it, or like we just have to accept that we can't understand it?
So there are a couple of ways to understand. From the ropes actually shrunk. The ropes, the acharyas explain, it's inconceivable in its behavior, but even from a conceivability point of view, the ropes just shrunk. Because the reason is, each of the ropes brought by the gopis represented the love of the gopis. And Krishna was not satiated with the number of ropes he got. So then when he got enough ropes, which is in the form of love of all the devotees in Vrindavan, then he was satiated. Okay, now I got. Now let me be bound. That is one way to look at stuff. The second way to look at it is there is no way you can bind Krishna unless he submits himself. And his only way he can submit is to the love, your love. So is that helpful? Thank you. Thank you. And the other last point is, in Vrindavan, these were, the supernatural things were very normal stuff. So they were like, something is wrong. He opens his mouth and then and shows him the whole universe within his mouth. He's like, I'm seeing some dream. He kills Trinavarta. Well, so you know the story of Trinavarta. He's a whirlwind demon. He took Krishna all the way up in the sky and they were crying. And he choked him and he fell on top of Trinavarta. Trinavarta crashed, but Krishna was safe. And the villagers and the Vrindavan devotees said, it is good fortune. He was saved by Narayan. So these paranormal things were going on. They were quote unquote normal, really normal. So they didn't go much into it. Like Bhagavatam didn't say, we have an investigative committee to look into why Krishna's thing fell too short, yet we got so many ropes. It's like, okay, that's all right. Other questions, comments? Yes, your good name, please. Megha. Thank you, Megha, and welcome.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So were Mother Yashoda and gopis, were they just at the right place at the right time that they got to see this, lovely child who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Or did they have a lot of good karma? How were they like in that situation?
So it's mentioned in Bhagavatam of how they performed severe austerities in their previous lives to have Krishna as their child. And in this life, they got that opportunity. So it's through performance of devotional service to Krishna, when we really advance in our devotion, then each of the living entity, each of the jiva, each of the personalities sitting in this room has a unique relationship with Krishna, and it blossoms. Somebody sees Krishna as their friend, somebody as their master, somebody as neutral, somebody as my child, somebody as my lover. And then based on that particular relationship with Krishna, it is possible for every living entity to enjoy such pastimes with Krishna. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Yash. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I had a question on text 6. I think it mentioned, I think it was when Mother Yashoda went to attend to the boiling milk. I think the verse said, the translation, that Krishna had false tears. I didn't understand why it's false tears. I would think in that situation the tears would be real, like, why is my mother leaving me for the milk? So I was wondering if you can explain that more. Why is it false tears?
Sure. At that time, the tears were coming because of anger, not out of fear. So to distinguish the tears that were coming out later because of fear, quote unquote, the word false tears was used. It's like, my mother left me, and then the child, when they are angry, they just cry. So, is that helpful? Thank you. Yes, Dhira Prashant Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class so far. So in the beginning of the class, you mentioned about, Kali Yuga, and you mentioned about, there's so many bad things here. And then from the famous verse, Kaled Dosha Nidhe Rajan, right? Asti Nekon Mahan Guna. So I'm speaking about myself here, and the question is for me. So we know that, we understand that, so devotional service is the only way, right? And then we begin our journey on the path of the devotional service. Then we get serious, then we understand that, okay, somehow we need to get initiated, which we chant. But somewhere down the line, we know, okay, this is a long road. Sometimes we get inattentive, sometimes we don't give that due seriousness, you pick up a phone and then something happens and you chant, you're browsing, something like that. We get distracted. I just, what are the precautions we should take? How should we remind ourselves that And then sometimes eventually it becomes a habit, and then you try to avoid it. But so distractions are so, like sometimes it keeps happening. So just any thoughts of advice?
How to avoid distractions in our regular devotional practices. That's all. Oftentimes, we should always take some time to step back. When you are caught in the scheme of things, you take it for granted. I've been chanting for so many years. There are two things that happen. One thing is, I know, I've been chanting. And then the second thing is, I've been chanting, so Krishna will consider all the years of chanting. Now I'm just, it's okay. The third thing is, I have too much service. So much service is there, I don't have time to chant. Or my rounds are kind of okay. But one should consider why. If we take a step back to see why. Is it I am bored? Is by nature my mind distracted? Or what can I do about it? The other thing is, once in a while it's good to reflect to know that the chanting is something actually it's a privilege. Let me explain. Hare Krishna, Valimardan Prabhu. The Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, it's actually mentioned, 11th canto, I don't remember, 2 or 3. Labdhva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante manusyamarthadam anityam api hadira turnam yateta napateta numrutyu yavad nishrehasaya khalu sarva vishaya nishrehasaya khalu vishaya sarva justat. The meaning of this is that after many lifetimes, you get the body of a human life. And that body is inevitably going to be destroyed. There is no question about it. And neither I have the power to speak once Krishna withdraws the life airs from my body, neither can I have the control over what I can exert my efforts in. And that is something that can happen at any moment. Because people can get caught in so much of institutional, family, professional, business, and otherwise stuff, that they fail to see that the death is sitting right next to me. And today can be my last day. So when we take a step back to say that, let me give my best, that shouldn't scare you. That shouldn't paralyze you. More often than not, oh my God, death. It's not the paralysis. In the college, there can be 3 kinds of students. One student you tell, you have exam. Exam? What exam? I don't believe in any exams. You may believe it, I don't care. Just don't bother. Let me play my video games. Get out of here. Student number 1. Student number 2. Exam. Oh yeah, I'm so terrified. I don't know how will I do. I'm so fixated. And that fellow will definitely have dreams before exam of failing the exam or getting to the wrong paper, getting to the wrong examination center, getting the wrong subject or whatever. The second student. The third student is, I'm aware that there is exam, I have faith and I'll do the best I can to prepare it without worrying about the consequences. So, having this kind of a cautious but realistic outlook, it'll help. Is that helpful?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
No, thank you.
Stay in the present. Yeah.
Thank you. So we have 15 more minutes. I think we'll continue with this beautiful pastime because I do have a few things to cover. Text 21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service, but he is not easily accessible to mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body same as self. While Mother Yashoda was very busy with the household affairs, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, observed twin towers known as Yamalarjuna, which in the former millennium had been the demigod sons of Kuvera. Text 23. In their former birth, these two sons, known as Nalakovara and Manigriva, were extremely opulent and fortunate. But because of the pride and false prestige, they did not care about anyone, and thus Narada Muni cursed him to become trees. So we come to the story of how Mother Yashoda bound Krishna and she left him bound. And she left to do her work. Might seem a little, in the modern context, there have been cases in the country where people have left the children in the car, went somewhere, doing their own things, and there are issues. So people might say, Vrindavan mein what's going on? He is the supreme absolute truth. He is to be worshipped, And then Mother Yashoda tied him, left. This serious problem. But on that note, I was reading a funny story that in Denmark, it seems that you can actually leave your baby in the crib wherever you go on the street, and you can go to the store and restaurant. It was an interesting tidbit I'm throwing. But there is a reason why Mother Yashoda left, because Krishna had to deliver these two sons of the Kuvera. And the next chapter, I'll give a brief summary of the next chapter. In the next chapter, it's mentioned that why did these two trees stand in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj? And it's mentioned how Narada Muni, he was traveling and he saw these sons of Kuvera. They were intoxicated and completely naked. And they were in the swimming pool, enjoying pastimes with the opposite gender. And when Narada Muni went there, they were so intoxicated that they didn't even bother to acknowledge that this great saint Narada was there. And they didn't even bother to cover their body because they were that inebriated. In fact, on the word of inebriation, Bhagavatam mentions that a liberated soul is completely, who is advanced in spiritual life, he does not even realize that his body is no longer is present with him. Because he's so absorbed in pastimes of Krishna, he doesn't know if his body is there or he left his body or he's got a new body. And the example given in Bhagavatam is just like a drunkard not aware of his clothes. If a person is extremely inebriated or drunk, a person doesn't even know whether he is wearing clothes or not wearing clothes. Well, same case was with Manigriva and Nalakovara. And they saw that Narada had come, they didn't bother, and Narada cursed them that you are in such a situation because of the pride of money and being the sons of the treasurer of the demigods. You are in such a degraded position, may you become trees in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. And may you be there for 100 years. And when Krishna comes, then he will deliver you. And please understand that Mother Yashoda tied Krishna to what? I'll give you the multiple choices. To a Tesla car, to an electric pole, to a grinding mortar. Thank you, grinding mortar. So that grinding mortar was yea tall, and then he was tied. And then Krishna just pulled the mortar and he just fell. And then as a baby, he crawled along with the mortar in his back. And the mortar got stuck between these two tall trees. And Krishna pulled those trees, and the trees fell down to the ground with a crashing sound. And then these two beautiful sons of Kuvera came out of that and offered beautiful prayers to Krishna. So in the month of Karthik, we meditate on this particular beautiful pastime of Krishna, saying that how Mother Yashoda was able to capture Krishna because of her love, and her love only. If Krishna is Bhakta Vashyata, which means that he is agreed to become under the subjugation or control of his devotees by only love. And please understand that love doesn't mean that, oh my God, good. In the material world, I need something. I get it, I control it. People are now, domestic help is becoming robots. Everybody's like, oh, I need that, right? Or you have any car that has automated driving software, punch it the number, it will take you wherever. So capturing Krishna doesn't mean that Krishna becomes perfectly your order servant. It's more of, there is such a deep exchange of love that the devotee says, Krishna, I want nothing else except your love. And Krishna says, I don't want anything else except the love from my devotee. So, in closing, this particular pastimes highlights contradictions. And contradictions, let me tell one contradiction. One usual characteristics of Krishna, and here it's opposite. Shall I start? Okay. Is Krishna self-satisfied? Really? How come he felt hunger then? He came to Mother Yashoda saying, Mother Yashoda, I'm really hungry. Feed me your milk. This is the nature of Krishna. He is completely self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything from anybody. In fact, it is mentioned, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevyam. Thousands of Lakshmi Devis are serving Krishna. Yet Krishna came to Mother Yashoda saying, Mother Yashoda, please feed me, I am hungry. Really, what sort of God is this? If he is hungry, how can he satisfy my hunger? Then maybe everybody should go to Mother Yashoda and get the needs fulfilled like that. But this is the nature of Krishna. He is self-satisfied, yet he shows hunger. Another contradiction. I'll tell a story and then we'll come to the contradiction. The Kauravas were always plotting against Pandavas, somehow or other. And Durvasa came to, we know the story of, he came to Hastinapur. Durvasa was the toughest possible guest you can have. Easily angered, easily giving benedictions. And we earlier talked of having a proper lifestyle. Durvasa is exactly opposite. He would wake up in the middle of night at 12. He would say to the host, I'm going to go to the river. Feed me prasadam. Make prasadam till I come back. And the host would get up in the middle of night, cook, and Durvasa Muni would come back from the river. And he'll say to the host, sorry, I'm not hungry. It's okay. I don't need it now. He was pretty tough. And Durvasa came to Hastinapur. Duryodhana was like, okay, whatever. And he fed, he took care. He was like, externally, he was very pleasing. Internally, I was like, But then at the end of Durvasa Muni's stay, Durvasa said, I'm so pleased. Tell me what boon should I grant? He said, Maharajji, you are such an exalted soul. We got your association. But, my poor cousins in the forest, they don't get much association. Actually, that's wrong, because they will get association all the time. You go and give them your association. And Durvasa, Boeing A380 will not be enough. A380 double deck with 400-500 passengers is not enough. He had 60,000 disciples. So Durvasa said, sure, I'll go and visit your cousins. He said, please do one favor. You go just after Draupadi has eaten, because they have Akshaya Patra. And once it is done, she cannot cook for the whole day. So Durvasa goes. And we know the story. I won't want to. What happens after that? Sri Kumar Prabhu. Yes, quickly, 10 seconds we can do.
So Durvasa goes and as soon as he reaches Pandavas, Yudhishthir Maharaj says, okay, yeah, please, I will make arrangements, please take bath and come. And he's now, of course, terrified, and Draupadi is also terrified. And then she prays to Krishna, and Krishna comes in, and he sees that there is one half a morsel of prasadam, something left. He accepts it, and in the river, when the Durvasa and his disciples are taking bath, they feel completely satisfied, and they run away because thinking that now they cannot come and honor the prasadam that Yudhishthir Maharaj might have made for them.
Thank you. One small twist is that when Durvasa comes to the Kauravas and he says, feed me prasadam, they are in real anxiety. Real anxiety. Because Durvasa Muni can curse them. And they don't have any wherewithal to cook for 5 people, let alone 60,000 people. Madrasa, please sit here. Sit here. You need to do 2 minutes of Kirtan. Thank you. So then they are praying to Krishna, Krishna, please come. Krishna comes. And he says, I am hungry, please give me food. Arey Baba, we are here struggling, trying to see how can we make for 60,000 people. You come and say you are hungry. And then he takes a small morsel, as Sri Kumar Prabhu said. The point I'm trying to make here is that he is completely, he can satisfy his own desires. If Krishna wants something, he did not go to a bank to apply for loan. If he has to construct a project, he doesn't have to go to a bank for a loan. He can fulfill his own desires. Yet he is desirous of prema. Somebody who is completely self-fulfilling his own desires is desiring prema. That is another thing that we learn from this particular pastime. The third thing is Krishna the emblem of peace? Right? He says, Bhoktaram yagna tapasam, Suhurdam sarvabhutanam. What mrichati? If you know of Krishna, then you get what? Shanti. Which means how much of Shanti he is. Really? He becomes so angry. In this pastime, didn't he get angry? He got so angry that he actually broke the pot and fed them. See the beautiful pastimes of Krishna, where you can see one extreme to another. Who is completely pure and peaceful and never disturbed. Even Bhrigu came and kicked him in the chest. He was not disturbed. That same absolute truth as a small boy is so angry. He's like biting his lips and then angry at Mother Yashoda. It shows such a beautiful nature. You know, somebody who's so pure can be also angry. And the fourth contradiction is, did Krishna use credit cards for getting butter from the gopis of Vrindavan? What did he do? Really? Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasambhrama. He has not only he has bank and Federal Reserve and all the money that is there. Yet he stole butter like a thief or a beggar. That's another contradictory quality of Krishna. And then the last thing. Krishna shows his universal form in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asks, what's your mission? What does he say? I am the destroyer of all the worlds. And Krishna is such a personality that fear personified is afraid of Krishna. Mentioned in the Bhagavatam, the sun, the moon, the planets, they revolve in their orbits out of fear of Krishna. He will chastise me. Death, Arey Bapre, I need to do my service. Everybody is fully afraid of Krishna. And Krishna is afraid of the beauty of, that's one more point. And the last thing that we discussed, the rope got bigger and bigger, yet Krishna remained the same. So these are some of the beautiful contradictory qualities that are there we learn from the pastime of Damodar. Thank you very much for attending this class. We'll have 2-minute Kirtan, and then because we need to end with Kirtan. And then we can keep the asanas aside, and then we'll have the Aarti for the Lord. So thank you so much for coming to ISV. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu ki.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Louder, please. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. So the next part of the program is the Aarti that we can have for their lordships. So if you can all stand up and put the asanas in the back, you can have it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Parivarjakacharya Astotara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ho Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarjakacharya Astotara Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavana Dham Ki Mathura Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. So as you know, the devotees go out every week to distribute the books. So yesterday, our devotees went out for book distribution and they met a very nice devotee. His name is Salame. He is from, he's an Arabic, from a Middle Eastern descent. But he is going through a lot of difficulties, and we'll request all the devotees to offer the prayers for his well-being and also protection for his daughter and her health. Thank you so much. And also we'd like to request prayers for Her Grace Haripriya Mataji, who is Hansapriya Mataji's mother. Today is her appearance day. Hare Krishna. And Sham Jagannath Prabhu's sister's father-in-law just recently left his body. So we'll like to request devotees to offer prayers for its protection as well. Thank you so much for considering the request.
Namaste Rajashri.
Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanand.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We welcome you all to the Sunday Feast Festival here at the ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Thank you for all joining us. It's a nice sunny weather outside, but instead of that, you could have spent time anywhere, but you decide to come here. So thank you all for joining us for tonight's feast. And also let's thank all the online viewers as well. So let's give a big round of applause to everyone who have joined today. So we started today's program by a beautiful Kirtan led by Geeta Priya. So let's give a big round of applause to her and thank her. And the Krishna Katha was brought to us by His Grace Srivas Prabhu. He spoke about the Damodar Leela. So let's give him a big round of applause and thank him for getting. So anyone coming here for the first time? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. We have 3 days a week program here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Sunday program starts at 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Saturday is 6:15 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And Wednesday is 7 to 8:30 p.m., which is online. So Wednesday is the online program. So thank you all for joining for tonight's program here. And if you have any questions or we could be of any assistance, please reach out to me. My name is Sri Gopal Das or Sachindra Prabhu. You will see him outside. Thank you again. And let's chant one Mahamantra for all the newcomers. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And also we'd like to, cooks, yeah, we have a few more announcements. We'd like to thank Rohini for leading the Narsimha Aarti and Madhuri Sakhi for leading an Aarti. We also like to thank our broadcasting team led by His Grace Charunimai Prabhu for bringing us the broadcast program. Hare Krishna. So today we have two sponsors, actually 3 sponsors for today's feast. So I'll call them one by one. The first is Pawan Agarwal Prabhu is sponsoring on the occasion of in the memory of his late father, Sri Tarachand Agarwal ji. Thank you, Prabhu. Please come here for a second. Thank you for sponsoring. Hare Krishna. Here is a small prasad from the deities. So if you'd like to speak a few words.
Sure. Thank you all for coming. My father passed away 2 years ago in Vrindavan. He was 96. He was my hero. He started everything from scratch. Scratch means everything, basically. He was, right after his marriage, he married to my mother. He was a teenager. The dacoits came, actually, and looted everything from him. And then he moved from India to Nepal, and he started a business from scratch, means he has nothing. And he became one of the very successful person. And he gave us everything in his life, from day one to day end. It is because of him that we are here. So even though his body is left, he will always reside in my soul, in my heart. And I'm very pleased that you all are here and celebrating his life and his memory with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. And the next sponsor is His Grace Sri Kumar Prabhu is sponsoring on the occasion of Madhav's birthday. Madhav is here. I saw him. Okay, so if anyone can get Madhav, in the meanwhile I announce the third sponsor. So the third sponsor is our own Hanspriya Mataji. He's doing books. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu, for sponsoring the feast, and we'll pray for the spiritual progress for the Madhav, and thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Let's give him a big round of applause. And our third sponsor is Her Grace Hansapriya Mataji is sponsoring on the occasion of her mother's, Her Grace Haripriya Mataji's appearance day. As we know that she left us about 6 months back, so she is co-sponsoring today, and also she had made a feast in her memory in the occasion of her birthday. So let's thank Hansapriya Mataji and Pa for today's sponsorship also. Hare Krishna. I think next is the cooks, and Geeta Priya will do the honors for today.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Hansapriya Mataji, the Seva Prabhu, Mayank Prabhu, Preeti Mataji, Divika Mataji, Nilachal Chandra Mataji, Sachinder Krishna Prabhu, Mahaprabhu Prabhu, Geeta Priya, Soham, and Niharika. Hare Krishna.
I think that's it for today's announcement. If Madhuri Sakhi or Geeta Priya, can you lead the prasadam, please? Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Sharira Vidyaja Jorendiya Tahika Jilevire Vishaya Sadore Kamadhi Bhayati Obo Maisuti Bhayati Akrijita Katina Samsare Krishna Bhoya Dhoyamo Hari Bhare Jivaja Saprasai Dandani Kama Seya Kame Kapa Shri Shri Radha Krishna Bhunava Premedado Shri Chaitanya Lila Premedado Shri Chaitanya Lila Mahaprasade Govinde Ramagani Vaishnava Namapunya Namaste Krishna Sakurai Devasadi Please come take prasadam. Prasadam will be served in the picnic area outside.